Welcome to my channel. So today's topic is about population. Globally, we cannot count every single person without major effort. It's just not reasonably expectable. It's not a reasonable expectation. So they do a generalization on rough population. The current rough population of the globe, of Earth, in general, without being specific and counting every single human, is roughly 1.8 billion people. A lot of those people do not live in first world nations, and they've lived in what first world nations would consider to be poverty, but they're alive. And they've used techniques to survive for tens of thousands of years to get our population to 8.1 plus billion people. With that being said, each human uses resources: food, water, shelter, land, space. And with each human, there's a waste cycle. There's feces, urine, trash, detritus, debris, tailings from construction. And in the modern world, the first world, second world nations, there's a lot of construction that goes on, and we build a lot of things. Everything from computers all the way down to hand tools. And there's a huge mining operation and forestry operation and et cetera, et cetera. There's huge operations to keep first world nations in operation, to keep paint moving around the globe, to keep oil moving around the globe, to keep materials and raw materials and refined materials and finished products moving around the globe. We have planes, trains, automobiles, boats, all airships, all kinds of stuff. But what we're not focused on and not paying attention to enough, the decline of our societies has to do with loss of resources and resource allocation, or overuse of resources past their carrying capacity, and strip mining. In other words, taking all the materials, the minerals, the fish, the trees, removing all of the materials and leaving nothing but barren wasteland without reconditioning the area to be sustainable. One of the most classic examples of strip mining is ocean strip mining, and nobody even thinks about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody brings it up in conversation. And it has to do with trawl netting. So they drop a net into the water with heavy weights on it, and those heavy weights hit the bottom of the ocean. They hit the seabed floor, and then the net is raised up into a vertical surface, and it drags across the surface of the seabed floor, destroying the seabed floor and the organisms there, while catching everything else in its path. Then they haul the net back up, and they dump 80% of the waste product over the side, which is not their target animal or fish or whatever it is. 80% of the material that gets pulled up in the net is crushed by the weight of all the organisms in the net, and the net being pulled up and all the organisms being crushed and dying. And as the net is brought into the boat, they discard the waste product, which goes back in the ocean as dead animals. And then they take their catch, what they caught that they want, the target fish or species, and they process it and take it back to land. In doing so, this version of strip mining has reduced the available fish in the ocean that we use by 90% in 50 years. Strip mining. We need the ocean to recover, and we need to change things about how we pull organic material out of the ocean, because the ocean is the giver of life to everything. I mean, as far as science and history understands it, we didn't start as a land-based organism. We started as an ocean-based organism when we crawled on the land. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So we are disrespecting the thing that gave everything life by strip mining it. We need to change those practices. That does not mean we don't fish in the ocean. That does not mean we don't take catch out of the ocean and feed people. That has nothing to do with what I just said. We just need to change the model of how we do fish in the ocean, how we do extract food materials from the ocean without just destroying it all. Simple thing. The population has the ability to conceptually conceive of better ideas. 8.1 billion people. And as a friend of mine said, they're not all dumb and all stupid. Okay, let's prove it. Let's prove that we are not all dumb and not all stupid. There's 8.1 billion people. Share this video. Share it around the globe. Let's find a solution. Let's make this video have 8.1 billion hits. Because somebody out there is going to solve this problem. And it doesn't necessarily come from America or China or Russia or Africa. Somebody somewhere is going to figure it out. My personal interpretation of it is that we switch to a system where we can harvest the ocean while replenishing the ocean. And the native Hawaiians did this very well. And they built out coral reefs, which they could basically walk into, leveled coral reefs. And when the tide went down, the fish that they found in there, they could catch and they could eat. But they also had a secondary system, which is up their hill towards the top of the volcano. They had water coming down the hill from rain, and they'd make little ponds, and they caught more fish in the little ponds than they did in the reef. So they weren't unable to provide for themselves. They're able to provide for themselves fine. And Europeans came in and brought cattle in and destroyed their systems and forced the native Hawaiian people to utilize European systems, which don't work as well. They don't provide as much food. They don't provide as much nutrient. And cattle on an island are a terrible idea. Absolutely horrible. And we can fix it. We just have to change the way we think. Another thing that we do is we strip mine forests. And this one's actually easier than the fishing problem, because to go fishing, you actually have to have a boat or a canoe or raft or something. Then you have to have gear. You have to have poles and line and weights, and you have to have all this stuff, nets, whatever. You have to have materials. To clear a forest, you have to have a saw and some way to move the log. It's actually much easier than going out and fishing, because chopping down a tree requires wedges and saws. And then you have to have an extraction device to remove the tree to a mill. So we've actually gone in America. I'm going to use America as a prime example. Since our founding in before 1776, because we were here, European settlers were here before 1776. Since Europeans arrived in what we call America, Northern America, we've strip mined the forest by 90%. There's nothing to be said about that except that's roughly the truth. Now, we have the ability as humans on land without boats and fishing gear and all that to turn around and revegetate the forests by replanting seeds. It's actually easier than fishing. Dynamically easier, because we don't have to have all the gear. All we have to have is the seeds and the timing right, and have the right topography for the seeds to take. And there's 8.1 plus billion people. So if you wanted to do something easier than fishing, you plant a tree or a bush or a shrub or an herb or, a vine, anything. Just plant something. Because in one day, if every single person planted one seed for one tree, and I'm not saying the same species, that would be ridiculous. But if they planted one seed and each seed was viable, that means it'd grow to maturity, right? We could replant all the forests with 8.1 billion seeds in one day. What would happen if you did that once a week? There's 52 weeks in the year. You do it on Sundays. Make it a church event or something. Make it a religious event. That'd be 8.1 plus billion people planting one seed 52 times a year. And if each seed was viable, that'd be 8.1 billion seeds times 52. Well, let's take it one step further. What if we all planted one seed a day? That'd be 365 days times 8.1 billion people. We don't have to have a food crisis. We don't have to have a materials crisis. It's not necessary. We don't have to have a waste cycle crisis, because different trees provide different needs. Different plants provide different needs. We have plants that produce, like palm trees. Well, they're not trees, or anyways, palms have the ability to produce palm oil. We can convert palm oil into diesel fuel, and that diesel fuel can run any device, any tractor, any engine device that's designed around a diesel engine. No problem. I don't want pure palm forests everywhere. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking for us to be civilized and think it through well and produce something that works better. We can also use biological materials, and we can convert them into alcohols in our waste cycle, and methane. Alcohol and methane are nearly the cleanest burning fuels that we can create on the planet besides hydrogen. Methane and alcohol. And we have no problem producing alcohol and methane from waste cycles. If we ever run out of methane or alcohol, we're in serious trouble. So we could take the forest and we could use the forest in a production cycle where we take the byproduct or waste mass from the forest and we can convert it into fuels that we can use without mining a single mine. We don't need to mine one more mine. We don't need to dig one more hole for oil. If we convert our thinking to biomass conversion into other fuels. So that's the ocean and that's forests. And right now, what agriculture is doing is not agriculture. It's strip mining minerals out of soils to produce food for sale, not for consumption. So in the industrialized world, we use plow agriculture. And when we use a plow, it turns the soil over and oxidizes the soil and exposes microorganisms to ultraviolet radiation from the sun and drying effects from wind and heat. And when the soil turns over, a plume of dust blows away. Every time they turn the soil over, a plume of dust behind the tractor or device, even if it's a horse and a plow, a plume of dust blows away. And that's some expensive dust because they pay millions of dollars for those acres of land. And every time a little dust particle blows away, they're losing money because that dust particle was a fertility in the soil and it was their basic land mass. And then water falls from the sky in the form of rain or watering cycles that they use. And it causes this, if you look at a water drop hitting the soil, it causes massive, what looks like an explosion. And that's an erosion cycle. And then that water picks up material because water forces material that is buoyant to float because one pound of hydraulic factors are real and buoyancy is real. And 1 pound of hydraulic pressure can lift 8 pounds of mass. So it's an 8-to-1 ratio roughly. So the lift capability of water is massive. It picks up those soil particles that are loose and it sends them to the ocean. And there goes some more of the mass of that farmer's land, and the fertility is going away and the carbon is going away and the nutrient is flowing downstream to the ocean and the farmers don't do anything about it. So in modern agriculture, this next strip mining after the ocean, forests, and is agriculture is strip mining the minerals out of the soil. We're not putting enough back in. And in the process of not putting enough back in, we wonder why our nutrient scores, like our BRICS scores, our sugar scores, and things in the fruits and vegetables that we're growing are declining. And we're having to add fertilizers and other chemicals to the soil to kind of fix it and boost the productivity of the plants. When in reality, we need to stop plowing. We need to stop strip mining the organisms and shift our thinking and adapt to a better system that makes more money, because farmers in America, and I don't know about the rest of the world, Europe and Asia and South America and Africa and Australia, they may all have different systems. But in America, one, we overproduce massive food crops. And in doing so, we destroy a huge volume of that food crop because it goes bad before it can go to sale. So we're in overproduction already. We're way overproducing, well past need or requirement. Another thing is that we're producing single crops. We're monocropping. There's no diversity inside the fields. So in the process of not having any diversity, a single pest will grow out of control and it'll consume the crop. And then we have crop losses. And farmers take losses every year for that and then have to have subsidies. Not necessary if they had multiple crops, because if you have 5 crops and one fails, you have 4 crops more to rely on, and each one crops at a different time of the year, and you hire people to crop those crops, and everybody stays employed. Instead, we have one crop, and it fails, and everybody's out of a job. Nobody's employed. So monocropping is tragically bad for the commons. And common people do not need monocropping. They need diversity. So, and I'm just using 5 crops because I have 5 fingers. You could have 10 crops. You could have, well, I have 8 fingers and 2 thumbs. The point of the matter is that it's not necessary to strip mine the system for money, because they could have multiple crops, have smaller plots, have better control, have better nutrient scores, make more money, and yes, there's going to be more work. But you can have multiple benefits and reduce multiple problems in doing so. Multiple people become employed, and our society self-corrects. That's oceans, forests, and agriculture. We have to fix those 3 things. If you have a solution to it and you want to offer a solution to it, leave a comment below. If you think I'm wrong, leave a comment below. If you think I'm right, leave a comment below. If you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you really like it. If you really, really, really like it, share this information with a friend. Because we need 8.1 billion people to solve this problem right now globally. I'm just one voice, and all I want you to do is put your voice out there and see if we can get some positive change operating. Because we need a lot more food production without desertification, and we need to solve the problem of food scarcity on our planet. We've had agriculture for 10 to 12,000 years and people are starving. And it's really simple to just plant a seed. Have a great day. Think about it.